there you
There we
are.
go.
Good now, good.
Had to turn this camera around for some reason.
Yes. This is, by the way, this is classic Instagram live. So live television, as you know.
How many cameras does this thing have?
Well, thank you for joining us. We're going to get started. Again, for anyone joining us in the chat, feel free to, to drop questions, and I'll kind of keep my eyes on that. But welcome everyone to episode 50 of Live with the Maverick. My name is 𝗘𝗲𝗄𝗍𝗲, founder of Maverick Actuary. We are a content community. You can find us at 𝗪𝗶𝑒𝗄𝗎𝗓𝑦.com and on all the major social platforms. Our mission is to maximize impact and value for quant professionals on a global scale. The goal of this series is to expose our community to individuals who embody the values of our brand and mission. The theme of today's discussion is New Age Entrepreneurship, and we are very excited to have with us our guest, 𝗘𝗽𝗄𝗿 Kaimowitz. 𝗘𝗽 is the Chief Executive Officer at Virtual Actuary, a turnkey actuarial services business working with the insurance, investment, and banking sector. So welcome, 𝗘𝗽. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here. Hello, everybody.
Yes, and we've now had several guests. I think we've had almost 5 guests now from South Africa, which is really exciting. So South Africa is becoming a regular on the podcast, which is wonderful. But
excellent.
Yes, great. But want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. So,
hello, I'm 𝗘𝗽𝗄𝗿 Kaimowitz. I'm coming at you live from Cape Town, South Africa. It's now 6 o'clock in the evening. I am involved with a wonderful business called Virtual Actuary. We have a very strong team of actuaries, about 70 strong. We have all different global clients, and we just love the industry. And I try and do a lot of the operational stuff and assist the actuaries where I can. And yeah, very nice to be here.
Yes, great to have you. Now, one of the things I like about this conversation is that, we talked about this a little bit before. And when people think of entrepreneurship, they think of just the kind of traditional hustle culture, and they have probably like a very narrow, purview of what entrepreneurship is. So today we're going to talk about like a more modern version that we call New Age Entrepreneurship. But before we even get into the topic of New Age Entrepreneurship, I want to kind of lay the foundation here. I want to first talk about the idea of New Age thinking. That's a term I think that you mentioned to me in our previous conversation. So like, what does thinking in a New Age way entail?
In my opinion, it means that we think a little bit deeper. We don't just go with the status quo. Just because the person next to us is doing something a certain way doesn't mean that that's the correct way to do it. Just because somebody claims to be an influencer and everybody believes them, it doesn't mean that they are correct. So New Age thinking is really just about thinking for yourself, being more confident in your own ideas and your own actions, and shedding the I care what other people think about me before doing something. What you'll find is that those who embody that actually achieve things that others have not achieved, because they're not worried whether other people are judging them. So I think sort of letting go of judgment and doing things because they feel right.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. And as a natural follow-up to that, when we think of actuaries, I think certainly something I'm trying to push with my brand is helping to change, not to change, just to help the image of actuaries like evolve in a positive direction. But when you think of actuaries, I think people might have more of a kind of classical, traditional view of an actuary and who actuaries are. So when we think of the topic of the idea of New Age, New Age thinking, like, why is this important for, say, an actuary who works in a traditional job?
Actuaries are not always your back office number crunchers that just look at spreadsheets and don't have business roles. I think it's very important for actuaries to understand that the reason that they became actuaries is because they enjoyed problem solving. This is a very important point, because insurance companies and banks have a lot of problems that they're trying to solve in the world, whether that is to design new products, price new products in a new way, look at forecasting in a new way. And the key is really to understand that actuaries have a business ability as well, beyond just the training that they got, the tertiary training that they got at university. So the key really is to understand that at a core, actuaries are actually problem solvers that are able to break something down to a granular level, even if they haven't done it before, going back to basic principles. So if one can often think like that, then when faced with a situation or a problem or a model that one wants to build, going back to basic principles and saying, what do we know about this? And can we solve it in a way that will get us to a certain result, even if one hasn't done that before? That's what I think. Yeah,
that's a great point. Is kind of like what I was talking about, is that kind of evolution of problem solving and adding value. So that's good. No, we talked about new age thinking to tee up the conversation, and let's take it a step further. So now we talked about new age thinking at a higher level. Now, how would you describe the term new age entrepreneurship, and how does that differ from traditional entrepreneurship?
Back in the day, we would look at those that started businesses and they were successful because they were business owners. And often they would get a loan, and they would have business partners, and they were heavily indebted, and they would have investors in the business. They were just kind of the ones running the business. And it's almost like the investors are having all the fun by making all the money, and the banks are the ones that are cashing in because the loans are so good. Mm-hmm. So I think new age business, new age entrepreneurship is really about understanding that you have the power. If you have the business idea, you have the power. Not to give your power away so quickly, is to say, how can I open this business? How can I operate this business and actually make money within the first month? Mm-hmm. That's a very difficult thing that most people don't try to solve for. They just think, oh, the default is, I need an investor, I need to get a loan, I need this massive office space, and only then will I be in a position to get started. But if you look at a lot of the big companies that have gotten off the ground, they started in a garage, in a basement. Mm-hmm. So the key really is new age entrepreneurship is to understand that you're solving a problem and there's a client that wants to pay to have that problem solved. So try and see if you can get them to allow you to solve that problem and pay you, and then improve your business as you go along. So new age entrepreneurship is really just about looking to make money and make profit from month one, not in the traditional way of saying, I have to get a loan or I have to get an investor. Because if you do that, you're only going to make money down the line, but everyone else is going to take your money. So that's what I think.
Interesting. Now, when we talk about new age entrepreneurship, of course, it had to come from somewhere. So there's a natural evolution that happened. And I like the way that you began your book, by the way, Slaying Giants in the Mega Gig Economy. You talked about the fourth industrial revolution. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on like what were the driving forces behind new age entrepreneurship?
What I found was that a lot of the talk online about the fourth industrial revolution is really just about ChatGPT or whatever it's called, or AI, machine learning, robotics, all these fancy things. And the problem is that's quite inaccessible for most of us. Mm-hmm. Oh, now all of a sudden I have to learn Python. Now all of a sudden I have to be a machine learning expert. Now all of a sudden I have to be a data science expert. What about all the training that I did over the years to become an actuary? So I wanted to just change the narrative a little bit by saying that the fourth industrial revolution is actually two things in a way: how we treat those that we work with as colleagues, and also that technology is so advanced these days that it is accessible for anybody to be a strong business without being a massive corporate. Because your technology that's available today in your pocket is stronger than it was for the biggest corporate 15 years ago. Now, 15 years ago was yesterday. So the fourth industrial revolution is that the normal man and woman on the street are able to enter. The barrier to entry is lowered if they want to be a business owner because they have the technology available. And so that's the fourth industrial revolution, in my opinion. It makes technology accessible for everybody.
Thank you so much. And just wanted to say a quick note for the person who just typed, yes, all of the episodes are recorded, so this will be posted after. So no worries if you missed the first half. And so far, it's been great. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurship in general, whether it's new age or traditional, disruption is a common term and theme that's often associated with entrepreneurship. So how do you think of like the term disruption and what that means to you?
The term disruption does definitely get thrown around quite a lot these days, and it's very glamorous to be a disruptor. It's very glamorous to be an entrepreneur, but the only way to be a successful entrepreneur and potentially be a disruptor of any sort is to actually have industry experience and to have worked somewhere for 10 to 15 years. Excuse me, a lot of people want to get into entrepreneurship and being business owners in their 20s. Disrupt the industry. The problem is that it's the outliers, the 1% that lucked out, that was their story. And everybody's looking at that as the goalpost, as that is the North Star, whereas it shouldn't be. So I think that ultimately, if people wanted to be actuaries, they should work as actuaries, whether it's in investments or insurance or banking, and actually work and learn the different parts of the value chain inside that sector and learn about business. Only then, if they want to be entrepreneurs, and another word for entrepreneurs is just business people. Mm-hmm. Business people is really the main thing. Entrepreneurship, it sounds glamorous, but it's more like sort of people that don't have any money become entrepreneurs. But once you become an entrepreneur and you make some money, you realize you're actually just a business person. Yeah. Okay. So that's the key, is to become a business person in your 30s, once you have sector and industry knowledge. And once you've seen what you'd like to disrupt or what you'd like to change or improve in the sector or in the industry, and then go ahead and build your product, go ahead and create your business. And because you've made connections in the industry, they are more likely, you have credibility, they're more likely to accept trying out your product or trying out your service in the sector, because you actually have a little bit of industry experience. It's less risky for them to engage with you. So if you want to be a disruptor, then you need to have worked for a few years before you even open the business.
I think this is a really compelling point, and we spoke about this before as well, and I can certainly relate to it in terms of the journey that I've been on with Maverick Actuary. I think to your point, entrepreneurship is glamorized, and some of those outlier examples like Mark Zuckerberg, you know, those people who become billionaires in their 20s, to your point, who, you know, in other cases are outliers. When you think of an industry like insurance, I find that it's very difficult to be a person of influence who people truly rely on if you don't have that domain or sector experience, as you mentioned. So that, I think that's a really compelling point for everyone to note, because sometimes entrepreneurship, I think, gets lumped up into like one bundle, all the different domains. But insurance is so different, in my opinion. Insurance and risk management compared to, I don't know, something like retail, something that's a little bit more linear, in my opinion. So thank you for highlighting that.
And also on that point, what happens is if you have this idea that you've been nurturing for many years that you think could be disruptive to the insurance market, like improve it in such a brilliant way that it disrupts your competitors from being able to make money, because that's really what disruption is about. If you're too young and you don't have any actual business experience, what's going to happen is you're going to be brilliant and you're going to be a genius. You're going to create this product and you're going to start talking to a few people, and people are going to catch on to the fact that you're wet behind the ears, and they're going to welcome you with open arms. They're going to support you and back you. And before you know what's going on, you've given away 50% equity in your business idea, and you're wrapped in clauses that push you to go to market and create multiplier profit for the investors.
Yeah.
And that's just going to put a lot of pressure on you in your late 20s and early 30s to just make as much money as possible for the investors and the partners and not really create the most unbelievable product. So that's why if you have this idea, it's better to just nurture it, build it on the side. And when you're ready and you've been messed around a bit and you've realized that not everybody's friendly, once you've learned those lessons, then you can take your product to market when you're a bit older, and then the chances of you succeeding are better instead of just giving away your brilliant idea. That's why to be a disruptor, you have to also be the observer in your industry. And then you know what part of the industry or the sector can be disrupted because you've observed it having worked in that part of the value chain.
I like that answer, by the way, because I was actually going to ask a little bit about that in my next question. Now, let's bring back actuaries into the fold. Like, what's the benefit of actuaries being disruptors, in your opinion?
Well, the actuaries are the smartest people in the room. And so when other people attempt a problem, they don't have the depth that an actuary's mind has. And so once an actuary creates a solution, it's very technical and it's very smart. And so one must always remember that maybe somebody else has an MBA or a business degree, and they might have the gift of the gab, but they're not as smart as you. And so that's why if actuaries can create products along the value chain in what we call insurtech or fintech, especially if they've worked in industry and they know that one of the biggest problems is the quality of the data or the way to get the data to interact with the legacy products that the insurers are currently using.
Yeah.
One of the big problems. How do you get the data from there to the distribution channels? How do you get everybody across the business to communicate together in a more dynamic, real-time way with all these data repositories sitting across the whole business? It's very difficult to bring it all together. And so if you've worked there at a granular level, you understand the problems. What you'll find is if somebody doesn't have industry knowledge, they come to a boardroom and they start to explain to the insurer or the bank that their insurtech or their fintech is going to solve all their problems. The problem is that the director or the senior actuary in the room realizes that this person has never worked inside the war room. It's unrealistic that their product is going to solve the problem because it seems like they've never worked. It's almost like building a Formula One car where all of your clients are driving inside a parking lot, underground parking lot. The thing goes too fast and it can't maneuver. It's like building a car, never having driven on the road. So you first have to drive on the road if you want to then create products that you can take to market and be a business person. I'm not talking about being an employee or a senior manager somewhere. I'm talking about being a business person. If you want to create products that are going to revolutionize your industry, you have to have worked in the industry a little bit.
Yeah, great point again. Just love doubling down on that point. Now, you talked in terms of becoming a disruptor, becoming disruptive, you talked about being an observer. Any other tips for actuaries who are seeking to become disruptors?
So being the observer means that you are watching to see how things are currently done, but you're also very purposeful when you do so. And so what that means is that you notice that somebody in the business was able to solve a problem faster than the other team. An observer doesn't just observe, they question. They will question the improvement. They will say to that person, please explain to me why you were able to solve for that. So being the observer is about being purposeful in the fact that you want to be a business owner somewhere down the line, and you have to understand the inside secrets of how those that have been able to beat a problem beat the problem. So being the observer is about being purposeful in questioning people. Do you mind just explaining to me why you were able to do that? And if you get into the habit of doing that, what you'll find over the space of 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 years, you gain a lot of insight into what we call the pain points along certain parts of the value chain inside an insurer or a bank. You're not going to create a product that's going to serve the entire bank or the entire insurer. Your insurtech or your fintech is going to solve a certain problem along different parts of the value chain inside the bank or the insurer or the reinsurer. So you have to be asking questions to understand why is it that has happened. Then you can be a brilliant, what an observer is, somebody who has observed, as opposed to somebody who just goes to work, does their job, doesn't really care about why somebody else is able to solve that problem. Oh, Tina, she's always able to solve the problems. Ha, 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 ha. That doesn't help you. Right. That doesn't help you because you don't understand why Tina has been able to solve that. Because if Tina might say to you, I'll be honest with you, the reason why I'm able to succeed where the other brokers are not is because I send every broker that signs up under my channel a brand new set of pens. Because I know that every time they go on the field, their pens never work. So all the data comes out missing. So she's realized that the key to the missing data is sending pens. So I'm just saying these little nitty gritty things are the secrets to success. Because one day when you start your own business that deals with brokers, you'll make sure that you send everybody pens because it's just such a brilliant insight. So it's things like that. It's because you were purposeful, because you asked Tina why she always succeeds.
Okay, good to know. Now, I did mention earlier, that's a nice one. That's a nice, simple one to remember. I did mention earlier that your book, St. John's and the Mega Gig Economy. So curious to know, how would you describe the mega gig economy?
It's a great question. So the mega gig economy is, we've all heard of the gig economy. The gig economy is where somebody is able to work, they're able to do a gig. You're a driver, or you are a designer, or you are anybody that registers on Fiverr or Upwork. You're able to do a gig. That's the gig economy. It's actually quite transactional, where you have a platform where you sign up, you make yourself available, you work full time there, you don't work anywhere else. And people that need that service sign up, they post their problem, you reply to that. It's very transactional. There's a price attached. You do the gig, you sign in, you do the work, you deliver it, you get paid, you sign out. That's the gig economy. We know about that. The mega gig economy is where what we call professionals, like actuaries or independent actuaries, are able to join forces together in a consortium, are able to compete for big projects that would traditionally go to the large consultancies within the large insurers or the large banks, where they need a team of people. Mm-hmm. So if you need a team of people, you have to have an organized collaborative, a consortium of people that work together in a very organized way, in a mega gig economy type way, where they are able to service that client over the next year or two on projects. So instead of one person doing a gig, you have a whole bunch of gig economy people all working together in what we call a flash team, mm-hmm. Very organized way, and able to compete with the big corporates. So the mega gig economy is the evolution of the gig economy, where gig economy people are able to join forces together, what we call digital nomads, and are able to compete as a firm, as a business, for the large projects. That's our business. Our business, Virtual Actuary, is a mega gig economy for actuaries. Mm-hmm. We service large institutional insurers and banks and reinsurers and investment houses. So instead of them going to the large consulting firms, they come to us. It's very organized, but nobody is an employee.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Everybody is a participant, a commission-earning participant that splits the revenue when the client pays. It's a long topic to try to explain in 2 seconds, but it's kind of like if you went on an overseas trip and you wanted to use one of the ride-hailing apps as your travel agent, At the moment, you can't because you can only hire one driver at a time. But imagine they could become a mega gig where you could use them as your travel agent. Say, this is our itinerary. We want 20 drivers available.
Mm-hmm.
And then right at the end, you only pay one ride hailing business. And so that's the mega gig economy. It's like an evolution of the gig economy where you can compete as a corporate without being a business, where everyone's on salaries. Yeah.
Great. Looks like you're getting lots of praises in the comments, Adi.
Oh, really?
Legend, boss. Yeah.
That's nice.
That's good. That's good. I had a follow-up on that. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that. I think certainly in the north, because you're in Africa, in the North American region, it's definitely, I think, more common to, like, of course, you know, the big consulting firms, of course, have like a really large footprint, and you do certainly have some of the smaller boutique consulting firms. But based on your opinion, you know, do you think that mega gig economy model for actuarial, like from what you're seeing, is it more common in one geography versus another today?
No, I think it's also new in our geography. I think that gig economy and contractors and independent professionals working together is a brand new phenomenon that has been enabled by technology in the fourth industrial revolution, where we can all work as a decentralized team of people, so we don't have to be in one location. And what you will find is, as people understand that they are empowered to work with a consortium as a large firm, then what you'll find is that because that large consortium is probably a lean business, and if you read my book, you'll understand what I talk about, mm-hmm. is that you're able to compete against the large firms for the large contracts. So I think that we're getting work now in the US. We have a lot of work in all different countries around the world. And what you'll find is that the large consortiums, in my opinion, will take over from the large companies, and they will become the new corporations. Just the same as YouTube. Just the same as YouTube took over from the big production companies in creating content and channels. You'll find that because YouTube is actually a consortium of video production companies. And so professionals will be very, like, in an ecosystem, in a YouTube type ecosystem, a consortium, you'll be able to service the large insurers and the large banks like a firm. I think it will take over. I think that consortiums will take over from the large corporates. Interesting.
Do we have time, just checking, for one more? I had one more I was curious to ask you. Perfect.
I'm in no rush.
Perfect. This one is actually near and dear to my heart, and certainly with Maverick Actuary, I like to think that we're modeling this behavior. But like, why is personal branding important for actuaries? Like, we talked about some things before, like personal branding, the need to be connected to the world online, and the idea of moving your circle further than just the industry that you work in. So why are those things important for actuaries?
Thank you. Firstly, you getting it right. So I like that. Okay, you're an example, a shining light on personal branding online.
Thank you.
I believe that we are moving away from the corporate brand world and moving towards the you as a brand world. Okay. So what you'll find is that anybody can be an influencer, anybody can have credibility, anybody can create a fan base, a following, a consortium that is able to have credibility and service clients. So if somebody always feels that they are an employee, they work in a business, they don't want to have any online presence, they don't want to be involved in business online. It's on social media, it's business online. What you'll find is that they will sit on the couch and they'll be an employee. But after 10 years, look at the brands that didn't pay much attention to the influencers. They're getting eaten alive at the moment by the influencers, taken out. Why? It's because what the brands should have done is they should have watched which influencers were coming up, and they should have tried to own that somehow, because they didn't believe that the influencers would have the power and the credibility. So I believe that professionals, actuaries, accountants, engineers are going to embrace the you as a brand world by being able to become somebody online that has industry knowledge, that people turn to when they need work done or when they need projects done. So instead of going to the large firms or the companies to service them, they will go to the influencer in their industry to say, you and your consortium, can you solve this problem for us in our business, in our insurance company or our bank? And if that person is an influential person running a consortium of business professionals or actuary professionals, then they can be a large firm. You see, I'll finish off on this point. It used to be a time when a company needed work done, they would go to a large firm and they would choose that firm, and who did the work was inconsequential. Didn't really matter. They went to the large firm. But these days, if you've been doing work with a large firm, but actually you've been doing work with Tracy for the last 5 years, and you phone that firm and say, oh, I've got another project for Tracy and her team. And they say, oh, sorry, Tracy doesn't work here anymore. What's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, no problem. And they're going to contact Tracy. Say, Tracy, where are you working now? Oh, I'm working at this other business. Ah, Tracy, I've got work for you and your team.
Yeah.
So what has become apparent is that Tracy is the business. Where she works is inconsequential. Tracy is the brand. Oh, very interesting. Because you trust Tracy and the work that her and her team can do. So the brand itself, the corporation brand, isn't as powerful anymore as the people that actually, the you as a brand, the people that are going to be doing the work. So that's what's going to shift and change. And that's why if people don't create a presence online, then unfortunately they are going to always be employees sitting on the couch. So that's what I think. It's in my book, Slaying Giants in the Mega Gig Economy. It's not actually available yet. I am going to put it on Amazon soon. I'm just sending out to a few friends. If people get hold of you, you can send it to them with pleasure. The full version on PDF. It's absolutely fine. So at the moment, it's just getting passed around.
Sure, I'm happy to pass that around. One more thing I'll add to that last comment, which I think is important, is you talked about the fact that some corporates kind of miss the boat on influencer marketing. I think another thing is that, another challenge for them is that the way that they create content hasn't evolved. So what sometimes they'll do like legacy media type content, like a TV spot or something that works for a TV spot, but then they'll just kind of copy and paste that on LinkedIn, Insta, and they're not thinking of, okay, well, length, context, and all of these different nuances around what would be successful on one platform versus the other. So that's something I'll just add to why I think some of those corporates have a challenge today.
I agree. They rely too much on their marketing department to push their message out. Some companies do get it right where the CEO or the senior directors are present online and they are giving opinion, and what you'll find is that person will get followed and that then boosts the business. That is a great strategy for companies to have an online presence without it being so shallow like an advertising campaign.
Great, great. Wow, this was wonderful. I saw some good comments there on the interview, and this was very insightful, and I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm actually looking to following up with you and talking about the book. So look out for that email, Adi. We'll definitely catch up.
It's been an honor. The Maverick Actuary, the New Age Actuary, the up-and-coming influencer in the actuarial world. I'm honored and humbled. And I met you in 2019 when I spoke in Hartford.
You did.
And and so here we are again.
Yes, it's great. It's great to talk to you again. And yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.